Mangwanani Mwalelepo Fukenjani Klekwas Manave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Bedi and Anna Raizakweyo, ready to engage with the content.
In our top stories this morning, Electricity Minister escalating Koeberg life extension delay to Eskom board. Gambia finds Indian cough syrup cost 70 infants death. And freed Egyptian human rights activist pledges to continue work. You can watch all programs on oneup2.com or DSTV 285 as well as GoTV 25 in Namibia. Later on the show, we have Talen Gore and Ari Khokhad to update us on the news making headlines in their respective countries. We'll be right back shortly.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Right in our top stories, Electricity Minister escalating Koeberg life extension delay to Eskom board. Minister of Electricity Khotsencho Ramakgopa has expressed anger about the delay in refurbishing nuclear power plant Koeberg, saying that even after a visit there this past week, he was none wiser about when Unit 1 would return to service and what was going on. Speaking at a press briefing yesterday, Ramakgopa said he was elevating the matter to Eskom board as he remained extremely worried about the situation at Koeberg and very upset. Even after he received an extensive presentation, the plant project team did not have a clear picture of the situation. He also warned there was a real danger of an overlapping between the delayed return of Unit 1 and the taking out of Unit 2 to refurbishment. The delays in the refurbishment of Koeberg, SA's only power plant, have sparked concerns that SA will see higher stages of load shedding continuing into 2024, News 24 reported earlier this week.
Now, a government task force in the Gambia announced on Friday that 4 cough syrups which were imported from India were responsible for the deaths of at least 70 children from kidney failure last year. Health Minister Dr. Amadou Lamine Samate told a press conference that there were failings in regulatory and import checks of the medication, beginning with the products not being registered with the West African country's medical control agency. The head of the MCA has been dismissed, he said, while also appointing blame to the supervising pharmacist who authorized the drugs import without sufficient background checks. Beginning in September last year, the Gambia ordered a recall of several cough and cold medications, as well as all products manufactured by the Indian laboratory Maiden Pharmaceuticals, from which the adulterated syrups originated after the deaths of at least 70 infants.
In our next story, freed Egyptian human rights activist pledges to continue work. A high-profile Egyptian activist who was released from prison after being pardoned by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi insists he will continue to work in the field of human rights. The case of Patrick George Zaki, a student at the University of Bologna, was championed by Italy's government, and his release marks the end of a 3-year ordeal. Zaki explained his short-term plans. Egypt, which has carried out a relentless crackdown on dissent for nearly a decade, has pardoned dozens of detainees in the past year. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who has overseen the crackdown, previously denied his country had political prisoners and justified government measures by saying they were needed to fight the spread of terrorism.
Now, Spaniards began voting yesterday in a potentially close-run general election which could see Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's governing socialists lose power and a far-right party make up of a new government for the first time in 50 years. Now, Sanchez called the election early after the left took a drubbing in local elections in May, but his gamble to wrong-foot his opponents could backfire. Opinion polls show the election would likely produce a win from Alberto Núñez Feijóo's center-right People's Party, but to form a government, it would need to partner with Santiago Abascal's far-right Vox. This would be the first time a far-right party entered government since Francisco Franco's dictatorship ended in the 1970s. Voting opened at 9 a.m. and will close at 8 p.m. when voter surveys conducted via phone calls over the past week will be released. The final result is expected to be decided by fewer than 1 million votes and fewer than 10 seats in the 350-seat parliament, experts say. A small group of people shouted liar and a similar-sized group shouted Prime Minister at Sanchez as he went to a polling station to vote, TVE footage showed.
President gets sweeping power in new Mali constitution. The military government in Mali has adopted a new constitution that enhances the power of the president and the armed forces. It also creates a senate and demotes French from an official to a working language. Mali has been ruled by a junta since 2020. The opposition government has denounced the reforms, which the Electoral Commission says were backed by 97% of the votes cast in last month's referendum. The official body said turnout was 38%. Critics fear these changes make it easier for generals to break their promise of handing power back to civilian leaders after a presidential election in February 2024. The new constitution means the interim president, called Assimi Goïta, can now dictate the government policies and has the power to dissolve parliament. A legal case to have the referendum result annulled because the vote was not held in all parts of Mali was rejected by the Constitutional Court. Numerous irregularities and violation of the law also meant the referendum result should be thrown out, according to Mali's opposition movement made of political parties and civil society organizations.
That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, we have a look at an interview with the center manager at the Koeberg Vocational Training Center. Stay with us.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
This morning on Africa Good Morning, Yolanda Nell talks to Ernst Arab, the center manager of the Koeberg Vocational Training Center, about the importance of VTech. Let's have a look.
It's important to have clear negotiating positions from the side of the continent. And this convening that we are having helps to articulate those negotiating positions or the parameters of those negotiating positions anchored on the Israeli consensus. Short of that complete overhaul or reform of the UN Security Council, we also ask the question, what else do we need to do in order to enhance and project Africa's shared voice in order to influence and shape decision-making within the UN Security Council. And in this respect, the discussions that we are having today identify areas of reform short of the complete overhaul of the expansion of the UN Security.
My profound gratitude goes to the Amani Africa team for co-organizing this consultative meeting with the team in Namibia. I would like to emphasize that the reform of multilateralism system is a critical issue for Namibia and for Africa as a continent. And that's why we are persistently calling for the reform of the UN Security Council. Ladies and gentlemen, this consultation taking place in Namibia is of particular importance to us, given our history. His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, is always making it very clear that Namibia is a child of the international solidarity midwifed by the United Nations system. And it is these sentiments which is understood and owned by Namibians. Namibia was one of those countries whose people were denied the right to self-determination. The people of Namibia fought to gain their independence with the help of the Southern Africa frontline states, the Organization of African Unity, today we say the AU, the UN, and the other multilateral organizations. Therefore, it was through the galvanization of the ordinary freedom fighters who were supported by the international community, which provided us with moral and material support, that we managed to liberate our country from the apartheid and colonial bondage and eventually attain our independence on the 21st of March 1990. Therefore, our faith in multilateralism system grow out of our own experience. It is against this background that we believe the international community has an obligation to assist the others who are still not enjoying self-determination. And I'm referring to the people of Western Sahara and to the people of Palestine.
Just some correction on the context of the clip. That was actually Dr. Solomon Ayele Dersho, founding director of Amani Africa, which is an Ethiopia-based Pan-African policy research and training and consulting think tank. And of course, as you could perceive, that was also the Deputy Prime Minister, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, who emphasized that Africa can no longer be dictated and must be seen as an equal partner in global affairs. Let's head straight to the weather predictions before we return with economic news.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Talk. We bring jou die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle monster kan byt.
our economic news this morning, fuel price hike. Lagos workers adopt shift operations following the sudden increment in the pump price of a premium motor spirit, PMS, known as petrol, from 488 naira to between 568 naira and 617 naira per litre. Civil servants in Lagos State have resorted to shifting operations across the board to cushion the effect of the increment. Consequently, most private vehicle owners in Lagos have decided to board public transportation to their offices and various destinations, with the erstwhile grindlock often witnessed across Lagos metropolis reduced drastically in recent times, as most of the highways visited witness free flow of traffic across the state. This development is being felt across various sectors. Lagos civil servants are not left out in the hardship, as most of them have embarked on shift operations to reduce the financial impact.
Now, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema, says the government has negotiated a formal order of 1 million tons of mealie meal with the Democratic Republic of Congo. The President said this follows the formalization of the trade mechanism put in place between Zambia and the DRC. Hichilema said the Congolese government has, for the first installment, paid in advance through the bank $14.5 million, which was deposited last week, Thursday. We are not selling maize, but selling mealie meal so that we can keep the commodity ourselves, get a better price, and be able to minimize smuggling, President Hichilema said. The president said this in Namwala shortly after arriving at his Naminwe farm, where he is on a working holiday. Let's head into the economic indicators before we return with Ari and the sport.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
All right, it's time for us to get into the sports news with Ari. The Women's World Cup is well underway. I've been seeing quite a few really spectacular goals over there, and I definitely want to make sure that I keep abreast of that. Ari, please give us the stories.
Yes, very good morning, everyone. Yes, the World Cup in New Zealand and Australia definitely on the go, and the results from there was a disappointing results for Africa concerned. A very heartbreaking one for South Africa in the first round, but it's not all doom and gloom. They can still make playoffs. But what happened for the first games for Zambia and South Africa is that Zambia lost 5-0 to Japan, quite a big loss for them. And it was South Africa that played against Sweden in their first game. And if there's a heartbreak in the end, it was Sweden that won right at the end of the game. They won the game by 2-1. That was in the 90th minute that goal was scored. So unfortunate for South Africa losing that game. Next for South Africa, it will be they play Argentina on Friday, and it is Zambia that will play against Spain on Wednesday. Holders defending champion USA, they had a good start beating Vietnam by 3-0, and then Netherlands beat Portugal by 1-0. Going on to some motor racing news, first to the British Open Golf. That is Brian Harman of the USA that won the tournament. Great results for him. There's Brian Harman. He won convincingly by 6 shots. 13 under par he finished. It was a rainy last day, but he came through. John Rahm and Jason Day, some of the players on -6, and Rory McIlroy -6. Also a short back. And the best South African, the tied 23rd, was Louis Oosthuizen. He was even par close with -2 for his last round. And the leading amateur was Christo Lambrecht. He led after the first round, and he was the leading amateur. There's Christo Lambrecht, big talent for South Africa. He was the leading amateur in the tournament. And on to motor racing, it was a Hungarian Grand Prix, and it's the same old, same old. It's still Red Bull Honda that dominates, Max Verstappen winning, Lando Norris McLaren second, and Sergio Perez Red Bull third, Lewis Hamilton Mercedes-Benz fourth. And that is Max Verstappen on the right there with Lewis Hamilton. Significant for Red Bull. They beat the record that was 35 years old. They've got 12 consecutive wins for Red Bull Honda. That's between him and Sergio Perez, beating a record that goes back to 1988. That was when Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost did that for McLaren. So a great result for them. Closing up quickly, that is the cycling. That's the winner, Jonas Vingegaard, Tour de France. Always a big elite cycle tour. Jonas Vingegaard retaining his title. He won last year as well. He's the winner, Tour de France. That's pictures from at the in Paris of him cycling there, and it was Jonas Vingegaard winning, and it was in second place Tadej Pogačar. That is a great result for Jonas Vingegaard from Denmark. He's the leading cyclist in the world. So that's international sports news for today. Hopefully the soccer can do better, Zambia and Bafana in the week. Great week for everyone. We talk again international sport tomorrow.
All right, Ari, no worries. No need to remember Eiffel Tower when you have Table Mountain. Those have been our sports stories highlights after the break.
Namibians are still safe.
Everywhere else, the Supreme Court said we are not going to rely on foreign judgments.
By all means, we try to not make journalists public figures, but at the end of the day, they are.
Very good evening. My name is Tewen Jebela, your host.
With their Protestant offsprings.
But the implementation, like she's saying, is another thing.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune in to Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's head into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Electricity Minister escalating Koeberg life extension delay to Eskom board. Gambia finds Indian cough syrups caused 70 infant deaths. Freed Egyptian human rights activist pledges to continue work. And fuel price hike, Lagos workers adopt shift operations.
Those have been our stories. We thank you very much for watching our show this morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Please be reminded that Africa Good Morning screens on DSTV channel 285 as well as GoTV 25 in Namibia. On that note, it's all our love, all our light, and happy Monday.
Seraja Kanaka.